And as far as I can find out, nobody has actually been hurt from taking the shot. And I'm just wondering what your take is on that, Alex.
Well, number one, that's the whole point. Rarely does the vaccine, and it's all over the news, people are going to the hospital from it. Headline, public school nurses give swine flu vaccines to kids without parents. Okay, sends child to hospital. People are collapsing. And so you said that only one person you knew lined up and got it. It is the aggregate effect. You don't drink one glass of fluoride water and then it brain damages you. It precipitates out in the bones. We've had the top EPA scientist on who wants it removed. People in the government know this stuff's bad. And so it builds up. That's why most autistic children you talk to their parents, it's at 18 months, the third round of shots. The toddler's running around, laughing, talking. They get the third round. They have convulsions or don't get out of bed for 3 days. And then they're brain damaged and sitting in the corner for the rest of their life. So that's how this works. It's incremental. I mean, I can pull up London Telegraph. 21 people die in bird flu trial. In Poland alone, out of 100 that were given, quote, an experimental shot. I mean, the wreckage from this. But, yes, most people that take it aren't going to immediately get sick, though you heard the nurse earlier saying more than 50% of the nurses that were forced to take it at Seton here locally got sick. And they should go to the newspaper and they should make a big deal out of it. And then their superiors, the authorities, the officials, our gods, will back up and will back off. I appreciate your call, Mike. Let's go ahead and talk to Chris in Ohio. Chris, go ahead.
Hey, brother, God bless you. I used to work in a doctor's office in Columbus, Ohio. Back in March, late March, the Columbus Medical Association and Mary Jo Kilroy, our state representative up here, came down and said that there would be a pandemic within the next few years. And this was like 3 or 4 weeks before the swine flu outbreak. So they offered all the Columbus area doctors' offices the opportunity to be a pandemic response center. And these offices would get lots of federal funding, basically in the midst of all this outbreak. They kept, incentivizing all the stuff that, all these offices would get and everything. So, and our office manager, Jenny, said that she received a huge stack of papers. They emphasized that they were expecting a pandemic. I saw all this paperwork. It's kind of freaky, and it happened probably, I'd say, 3 weeks prior to the actual outbreak in America.
Yeah, stay there. We confirmed this as well. Back in January, they were already getting everybody ready.
Big Brother, mainstream media, government cover-ups. You want answers? Well, so does he. He's Alex Jones on the GCN Radio Network. And now, live from Austin, Texas, Alex Jones.
Now into hour number 2, continuing with flu whistleblowers. We'll be taking your calls when Bill Sardi, health journalist, joins us to give us his take on the flu, the hype, the adverse reactions. But Chris just brought up a key point. And we need these people to write articles to go public. At a doctor's office he worked in, the health manager there, weeks and weeks before the fear even started in April, in March, and this is what we confirmed back in January and February. Remember, I did all those radio shows. We wrote articles. We've reposted them saying something big with the flu is coming up. They're getting ready for mass graves. They're telling local cities, get ready for martial law. We had emergency managers on. The state of New York got all their cemeteries ready. How would they know this deadly flu, which isn't deadly like they say for most people? It's weak. It can kill you, but weak compared to the seasonal. How did they know it was going to be so big months and months and months before it even popped up in Mexico? And then that was a non-event, but they hyped it and created fear and all the masks, and the UN came in and put us under level 6. And we got those documents in late April, 2 months before that was made public. So, yes, we know the feds were going around federalizing everything. And whether the flu was dangerous or not, or whether they forcibly inoculate people or not, which they are doing to the public school children, just a huge issue. We just calmly report it. We almost do their dirty work for them when I just calmly, oh, yeah, they're forcibly injecting people, and see, we just get conditioned, and nobody goes to jail. Nobody gets in trouble for committing these crimes. And then we hear caller after caller before this was even in the news that they were forcibly injecting kids. Now it's confirmed. Who could believe it before? It was so shocking, but when it's admitted, oh, no big deal. That, yes, they were telling the medical facilities, get ready, it's going to be huge, even before April. Because something this big that's staged has to be geared up beforehand. It's like 44,000 U.S. troops, 18,000 British troops massed in Tajikistan, Uzbekistan, Pakistan, and other areas around Afghanistan before 9/11. And then 2 weeks after 9/11, all the military forces started attacking. They were already massed and ready, and it turned out Bush signed the order to attack September 10th. That's how you know this stuff is staged, ladies and gentlemen. Finish up what you were going to say, Chris.
I thought the most odd aspect of this whole thing was how they were going to be put on this payroll as soon as this all broke out. And basically they were incorporating all these physicians' offices into places like the Central Ohio Trauma System, all these outside federally funded programs. And this was much more than just the flu. It had more to do with it had to do with hurricanes, tornadoes, flus, outages, and it says other possibilities. It's in the actual document says, or other possibilities, kind of hinting at, martial law. We may need you to actually work in conjunction with our, with our jackboot thugs on the streets.
Sir, it's the same thing with the clergy response teams 4 years ago. We got the secret documents, almost 5. 2 years later, it became mainstream news. They said forced inoculation, lockdowns, FEMA camps, gun confiscation. They're getting the doctors and infrastructure personnel ready for martial law. That is confirmed, sir.
Yeah, and you're right. It's a total incorporation. They're trying to get everybody on the same page. And they're trying to get everybody to think that if I'm getting paid for this, who really cares what's happening to the average person on the street, And I think that's one of the most, despicable aspects about this whole thing is they're trying to get everybody just kind of
exactly. How did the globalists take over Iraq? Payoffs. They paid off most of the Republican Guard in the 6 months before the 2003 invasion. Right. It's all staged, sir.
Right, that's right. I was actually a Marine for a couple years, and that's kind of how I actually got turned on to your show. Was you mentioned that I worked at a prison outfit, and you mentioned that we were out actually taking some of the detainees and giving them to other countries, and other than your show, I'd never heard anybody mention that. And you really opened my eyes, and it really disturbed me. And at the same time, it opened my third eye, and I finally woke up, and so that's why.
And now it's all admitted. God bless you, sir. Now they admit it.